time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David and News Editor Philip Katafamo as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics in Yavapai County that affect all our lives. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio today. Kind of a laid-back show, some entertaining stuff as well we'll talk about. Michael Peach is in studio. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Local historian is what I'm calling Michael because I've been getting emails from Janine Trevelyan at the Sedona Heritage Museum, and every now and again those emails mention come and see Michael Peach's show. And I thought, well, I've known Michael Peach since I was 15 years old. I just turned 51. And so I've known Michael for years. He used to work for his mom, used to work with your sister, and I thought, you know what, there's got to be a day when I can get you in here to just kind of rehash the old days and have you find out what you're all about. So who is Michael Peach? Tell me. Tell us.
Native Arizonan, born and raised in Phoenix, but I fell in love with the Red Rocks area around Sedona when I was a little boy. We came up for a picnic in Oak Creek Canyon, and you round that curve on 179, 14 miles south of VOC, and all of a sudden, whammo, there they are, the Red Rocks. And I went, okay, I got to try to live somewhere around here one day if it's possible. So after I graduated from NAU, I drifted over to Southern California, and that was 5 years that got eaten up one summer.
Mm-hmm. And 5 years in one summer, right? Right.
So I decided, okay, now's the time. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to move back to the Verde Valley here. And so I've been here ever since. I've been in the Verde Valley now 36 years, and it's been the happiest time in my life. Met my wife here, had my son here, and so. But I drifted into the history thing. I've always loved history, even though I didn't take a degree in that in school. But I was approached years ago by one of the coordinators for what at that time was the NAU Elder Hostel program. Now they're calling it Rhodes Scholar.
Okay.
And she came to me and she said, I want a program for these people on Verde Valley history, and I think you're the person to create that program. Go do it. And
oh, wow. Okay. So that's a task. Huh?
Yeah. Well, my passion has always been the prehistory of the Native American cultures of the Southwest. And so I was up to my eyeballs in that. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of, frankly, blew that off. But she was persistent. She came around a year later. She said, I still want that program, and I think you're the guy to do it, so please create this program. So I started looking into some sources like Verde Valley Pioneer Stories, the two books that Herbert V. Young wrote about the history of Jerome, and the Sedona Westerners, those early days about Sedona and Red Rock history. And the stories just all of a sudden they leap off the page. They're just dying to be told. So I started creating programs, started doing them for the Sedona Heritage Museum in addition to the Elder Hostel programs. Started at the museum in 2001. And we've been doing them every year at the museum since then. And then at various resorts. I was part of the Arizona Commission on the Humanities Speakers Bureau one year, toured the state doing that. And I've performed at events, down around Tucson and in Phoenix and Flagstaff, various museums and the resorts in the valley, of course, and places like that. So the stories, the way I gravitate to the quirky stuff.
Tell me about the program that the instructor wanted you to do. Did you put it together? Did you eventually get it put together? And how did that go?
Oh, it went very well. That was a show we called Voices of the Verde.
Okay.
And basically what I was doing was taking extracts out of published accounts from early Verde settlers and doing them in a dramatic narrative fashion. And I did actually have one of the members of the Old Time Families confronted me one time just before the program at the museum, and he said, "Who do you think you are to call yourself the voice of the Verde?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not saying I'm the voice of the Verde. I'm doing voices of the Verde settlers." And but that show was very well received, and I do still have some elements from that original program that I put into my more recent programs. I try to mix up the show at the museum. We try to change it up at least every other year. This year's show is called What's in a Name, where I'm talking about stories behind how some of the areas, landmarks and things got their names, how some of the towns got their names, what some people's names have been associated with, and that's been very popular.
That first program you developed, was that kind of the start for you? Did that kind of kick the whole thing into gear for you?
Yes, yeah,
What
actually
made
it did,
you decide that this is something you wanted? Because Michael's got books, he's got CDs, and then the performances that you do as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, what was it that kind of hooked you and said, this is my niche, this is what I can do?
It was the writing aspect of it.
You like to write?
Yeah. I knew I liked to write. I'd written like 25 plays prior to that, about a dozen of which had gotten performed and produced, but I didn't realize that I liked writing history, and so that turned out to be a nice discovery for me. And it was through that I found out that a branch of my family had moved here to the Verde Valley back in 1878. I had not known that until I started doing this history research.
You started doing some digging.
Yeah.
So the Peaches have been around for a long time.
One branch of them, if you'll pardon that deliberate pun.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah. Gotcha.
And they moved to Strawberry. That's, and that proved to be a fruitful move. So that's.
Oh my God! Look at you, yeah.
I'm shameless. I'm shameless, Paul. I'll do that all the time.
Okay, all right, okay, I got you. This is the stuff that we're going to see in your show too.
Well, exactly. Especially if I'm doing the stuff from the books here, the quirky stuff. That's the kind of thing I like to do. I like satire.
Yeah. Is there a time that intrigues you more than another? Because you were pre-Native American.
I was very interested in that. I still am.
Okay.
And so coming out of that as an anthropology background, but I don't do any of that in my writing because I don't want to get into that cultural appropriation. You can write what you know, and I know about the territorial history of the West, and especially the Southwest as a native Arizonan, and that's what I've really steeped myself in over the last 20 years, especially. To become more of an authoritative on that. So,
and in California, were you taking acting classes?
I actually was working in professional theater over there for about 5 years. I went over there to attend an acting conservancy for a professional Lort theater there, and fell into a job with them for a couple of years. Out of that, decided, okay, well, I'm going to go get a master's then in theater. So I got my master's at Cal Arts. And had assumed I would come back and get back into professional theater, but the employment I found was in theatrical administration with the Nederlander Theater Organization. So I was at the Pantages downtown, a block away from Hollywood and Vine, and then they transferred me over to the Greek Theater in Griffith Park, which is a beautiful venue, wonderful venue, but it was administration, and I wanted more creative outlet. So a former classmate of mine from NAU, Richard Crockett, he and I had made a plan that, okay, we'll put together a theater company, and he'd been working at a professional theater up in Seattle, and so we both relocated here to Sedona and started a little theater company that we toured productions around northern Arizona, and took one over to the Los Angeles Olympic Arts Festival in 1984 and performed there. But if you don't have a lot of good financial backing, live theater is just going to drain your wallet. And so one of the smartest decisions I ever made was to disband that company. But I did a lot of theater in the Sedona area after that. I worked probably with about 8 or 9 different theater companies that have been working out of Sedona over the years.
Okay, wow. Okay, we have to take our first break.
All right, we're there already?
We were there already. Okay, Michael Peach in the studio. I'm calling him local historian, writer, poet, actor, thespian, show performer, all kinds of different things. Anyway, this is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Feng Shui artistry, the oldest form of development planning, today known as the art of placement. For 26 years, master Feng Shui educator, practitioner, artist, and author Caroline Patrick Bornet has used ancient rules of environmental, physical, and spiritual harmony to support clients' health, knowledge, creativity, and success. In mapping your home, you'll understand yourself. Better living is the gift of a lifetime. Change your life one room at a time. Schedule your Home Therapy 101 consultation today.
Show your customers how much they matter to you. Follow up with a real card in just 60 seconds with Send Out Cards. Send Out Cards makes it easy for busy professionals to leave a memorable impression. Stay in touch with a simple one-step process from your phone or computer to their mailbox. Call Judy today at 928-202-2557. That's 928-202-2557.
Been hearing about the crazy benefits of CBD? Find out how CBD can help you at Sedona's #1 resource, CBD Sedona. Come in for a free consultation and let our trained medical staff help you find the perfect product for you. Pain-relieving salves, full-spectrum oils, honeys, teas, cookies, and even CBD for pets. Ready to feel fantastic? Come on by CBD Sedona today.
Metaphysics. What does it mean? It's a branch of philosophy, literally beyond the science of matter. Sedona's University of Metaphysics studies the ultimate nature of existence, reality, and experience. Join 14,000 graduates in over 120 countries, helping others in counseling, coaching, ministry, and much more. The University of Metaphysics is here to serve the best in you so you can serve the best in others. universityofmetaphysics.com.
Welcome back to Countywide. Michael Peach in studio today. When's your next performance?
Tomorrow,
music?
actually.
Oh.
I'm taking part in a poetry and prose program, Halloween Day of the Dead program at the Sedona Library at 5 p.m. And this was put together by local poet and author Gary Every. He's the host, and there's going to be several of us performing. So I'll be doing a true story called Miracle Mike, the Headless Wonder Chicken.
Oh my!
For that one.
Okay. Is this based on a story?
It's
a true story.
It's a true story. Yeah. Yeah.
Are your performances based on true stories that you kind of manipulate a little bit along the way?
Yes. Yeah. That's what I kind of gravitate to. The quirky stuff that actually happened, and then I can build off of that. I do have some stuff that's a little bit more serious, but by and large, the stuff that fills the majority of these two books is quirky stuff.
Okay. What's your favorite time period that you like to do?
I like the territorial period into the pre-statehood period. And
rough times
mostly
here in
focusing
Arizona.
on Arizona, yeah, because it was a tough time, and a lot of stuff was going on. A lot of people know, of course, they think, okay, that time period, one of the first things that's likely to come to mind for a lot of people is the OK Corral situation down there at Tombstone.
Sure.
So this
just the lawlessness in the area.
Yeah. And we had Prohibition. We had a local owner of one of our local vineyards here, wineries here. I did a performance at an event at his winery, and he told me that if it hadn't been for Prohibition, this valley probably would have become Napa Valley.
Much sooner.
Yeah, because there was a German immigrant named Henry Schurman who was producing a local wine that was extremely popular. The fruits from, and this is another thing too, the background here of our valley here was orcharding was the second big economy. You have cattle ranching to begin with, and then orcharding became the second major economy, if we're not counting the mining going on, of course, because that superseded everything for a while. But growing up in Phoenix, all through high school, I worked in a local produce department for a little local market, and we would have people coming in months in advance trying to get their name on a list so that when the Oak Creek apples arrived, they would be allowed to buy a case of them because they were considered the finest apples you could get that were actually grown in Arizona.
I've had that cider. It's good.
Yeah. So, but that's so faded now. You really wouldn't know that had been a part of the past here. But yeah, that period, territorial into pre-statehood, with the lawlessness and the attempts to bring civilization and the various iterations that our government went through here on our way to statehood.
Colorful gangs?
Yes, and colorful political characters. Back at in 2012, the State Centennial, the museum contracted me to create a centennial program for them, and it was about the Constitutional Convention of 1910, which meant that I had to read through close to 2,000 pages of transcripts from that convention to create a performance of it. And that was a real learning experience. That's one of the things I really enjoy. This is I get a chance to learn in doing this kind of research. I'll come across a story that kind of sparks my mind, and then I have to dig deeper into it and find other sources about it. But it's that's that thing that they say you got to keep thinking or keep learning to stay young. And since the body is obviously aging, it's good to have something for the mind to keep that young.
Right. Okay, so and you've got several books. There's 2 right there I'm seeing, and then we've got a couple more over here.
Yeah. So two different types of writing here. These 2 are the quirky types of stories where I'll give the historic background to the story, but then I'll tell the story in original, we're going to say Western poetry. And then these 2 are historical fiction novels based on actual events. This one has a lot to do with the aftermath of the OK Corral, what happened to the main players in that. But I put a little bit of a mystery, supernatural element into those. And I have more of that on the burner that I'm still working on, and another book in this vein I'm working on now about names in our area here. How
do you find time? It seems like a lot.
That's the problem.
To sit down and write a book seems like it would take a bit of time to do.
That's the problem, is finding the time. It's very frustrating sometimes because I've been working now for the last 34 years as a professional interpreter of cultural and natural resources, which means I work in tourism in Sedona. And so that's sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning until 9:30 at night, by the time that day's over in the summer. And so you live for the weekends and hope that after you get your honey-do list done, that there'll still be some time and energy to, sit down at the computer. But that's the kind of thing that kind of keeps me going, I'm getting ideas and hoping I can get the notes down about them so I don't forget them. That's my great fear. I'm going to get a fantastic idea, maybe a Pulitzer-type idea, and it's going to flit away before I can get it written down.
You hear about that. You hear about people who say, well, I've had this idea. It came to me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I got up and I wrote it down.
Yeah.
And they're always glad they did write it down. Right. I think Craig Morgan was just talking about, he came up with a song, and he was going to go back to bed, and he thought, no, if you do this, you are not going to remember what it was. Right. You need to get up and do it right now. And I guess he wrote a song in 4 hours. And it was about a son that he had lost a few years earlier in a boating accident, but it was nevertheless what got him going again.
Yes.
And it was one of those things where here's an idea that comes to you, and if you don't get up and jump on it, you might not be able to.
Right. Yeah. And all writers, I'm sure, have this where you have a period where you think, when's the last time I had a new idea? Am I ever going to have another new idea?
Right. Yeah.
And that kind of scares you a little bit as a creative person. So when you do get those really juicy ideas, and you go, okay, great, I'll get that down in some kind of noted form, and then live till I can, get to it.
Right. Yeah, live until I get to it. Yeah. We got to take another break. Michael Peach is in studio today, local historian, writer, tellers of stories from the past, and a pink Jeep tour guide as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a quick 2-minute break. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Starting in the late 1920s, Grandpa Gettle and his brothers laid the groundwork for what would become a family legacy. Almost 100 years and 100 patents later, Gettle's High Desert Mechanical continues to raise the bar of quality heating, cooling, and plumbing products and services in the Verde Valley.
Call Gettle's High Desert Mechanical Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing at 567-2200 or online at GettelsHDM.com, providing solutions for your comfort. Don't settle. Get Gettles.
Hi, this is Greg at Verde Solar Power. Arizona has lots of clean, renewable sunshine, and we want to help you take advantage of it with our quality solar installations, and we offer to beat any written offer on a residential solar electric system. So bring us your electric bill and let us show you how solar power will save you money. We're located conveniently here in the Verde Valley and are dedicated to helping the valley go solar. So remember, the energy solution comes up every morning.
Hi, Todd of Todd's Appliances, your hometown appliance store. Studies have shown that when you buy from an independently, locally owned business rather than a box store, a lot more of your money stays local, therefore strengthening our community. From basic to high-end, we carry name-brand appliances. Visit our store on Main Street in Camp Verde. With same-day, next-day service, we service what we sell what we service the least. ToddsAppliances.com, 567-3062.
Hi, I'm your host, Smokey Colbert. Filling in for Smokey, because after 75 years of...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Turns out there's much more to say. Nearly 90% of wildfires are caused by us humans being careless, dumping our used barbecue coals willy-nilly. Guess the song was wrong. We did start the fire. That's why I respect Mother Nature and her trees, whether coniferous or new car scented. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left of the program with Michael Peach, I'm going to just say local historian. You've got performances that come up every other month at the Sedona Heritage Museum.
Right.
And
First Saturday.
First Saturday every other month. Is there one, in November, or is it December? What have you got coming up between now and the end of the year? Let's go that one.
All right. Well, we mentioned the performance tomorrow at the library, and then the next museum show will be the December show. And I'll have my regular December show on the first Saturday, and that's What's in a Name, the current show about names and the backgrounds behind some of the things here. And then I'll do the Christmas show a little later in the month, where that's a reading of Charles Dickens' The Christmas Carol and a couple of Christmas poems that are based on historical events. So that'll come up later in the month. Usually we try to coincide that with Christmas at Christmas in the Park at the museum, where they have lots of craft events going on too, and people can make and buy presents.
Sure. Yeah, and Janine sends me that press release all the time. Yeah.
Janine has been, I have to say,
she's amazing.
One of the best things that ever happened to me was when I got to meet her, and she decided that she kind of liked what I do.
Every time she sits down in here, she tells me a different story about something the museum has found. I think the last thing was an entire building, a historical building that was in somebody's backyard that would have been used for a movie set or something. It was a movie set is what it was. Yeah. It was in someone's backyard, covered in vines and weeds and stuff like that, but there it is.
So that's the newest installation on the museum campus. It was started out as a ticket office in Winona, 30 miles east of Flagstaff, ticket office for the A&P Railroad. And it was brought down here to the old movie lot in West Sedona for John Wayne's Angel and the Bad Man in 1946.
Oh my gosh.
And then it was taken down onto Lower Red Rock Loop Road and was actually a home that was occupied for decades, and they made some additions onto it, but that family stopped living in it, and it had just sat there kind of beginning to age and fall apart, and they contacted the Heritage Society and said, you could have this. And so we did a capital campaign, raised over $230,000 to be able to go there, strip all the additions off of it, get it back to the basic unit of what it was supposed to be, put it on a flatbed truck.
Oh my gosh, and drive it up Red Rock Loop Road.
The city gave them one night, about a 9-hour period overnight to accomplish that. And there were a couple places where they had to have these 14-foot poles with wooden cradles on them to push the power lines up out of the way so they could get the building underneath it. But they got it installed on the campus, and then refurbished it. It looks exactly the way it did in the movie, the 1946 movie, Angel and the Bad Man.
The Duke walked through there.
Yeah, the Duke actually was in there, filmed a scene in there, and so now there are kiosks in there that teach about the movie history of the area, because there was a period of almost 70 years where dozens of Western movies were filmed here. And it turned out I met a relative I didn't know I had on a tour that I was giving when we said, all right, let's get a picture of your family here with the background, and they went, oh, well, we get the Peaches here. And another guy and I went, well, what? And they said, yeah, they take the Peaches family first. And so I introduced myself to them, and they were from over in Prescott, and he had just sold his roofing company, and the last job that his roofing company did was they put the new roof on that former ticket office. That's
amazing.
Yeah, one of those really small world things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Happens more often than we think it does, actually.
Yeah.
Small world. That is really neat. All right. Well, we're out of time. But I'll encourage people to look up Michael Peach. I Googled you, and I've known you for years, so I'm a little spoiled in that regard. But
you can, of course, find the books on Amazon or at the Sedona Heritage Museum or at Literate Lizard here in Sedona.
Yeah, and then come and see a show and learn a little bit about the local history.
Yeah.
Indeed, right? Michael, it's really great to see you.
Great to see you, Paul. Good to see you again.
Thanks for sitting down for us. That is today's Countywide. As always, we thank you so much for watching, listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.